Hey governors, I'm not original because despite me saying that this was the most boring holiday 2 years ago, I couldn't think of any other ideas. So alas, I'm back talking about Thanksgiving once again, while I try to think of new topics to talk about. If I was smart, maybe I could have talked about the Canadian Thanksgiving to spice things up, but just a reminder, I am American, so cultures outside of my own do not exist. And to be fair, from what I can tell, the Canadian Thanksgiving is basically the same as the American counterpart, besides the date and the fact that one's flag is a pecking leaf. So I guess we're going to be talking about the American Thanksgiving today. I guess the best way to start talking about the American Thanksgiving a second time is to explain the very first Thanksgiving. I'm sure it'll all make sense. So a couple of totally nice pilgrims come from England to the Americas, and a bunch of Native Americans welcome them. To celebrate Christopher Columbus doing Columbus things, in 1621, they all decided to eat and be best friends with each other. That's at least what I remember from school. It was just like that, right? Right? Alright, let's move past that. I know that's what Columbus said right before he went to sleep. Now let's get on to the part of Thanksgiving that people actually care for, the food. I know people act like family and being thankful is the point of Thanksgiving, but no, it's really just about the turkey. Because what is Thanksgiving if it isn't just one giant mukbang? I obviously have to mainly talk about the turkeys when talking about Thanksgiving food, and boy do I feel bad for people whose favorite animal is turkeys around this time of year. Because despite them being a mascot for Thanksgiving, which feels weird to say out loud, I never really cared for them as food. Turkey always felt like a discounted chicken to me, and I can eat dino chicken nuggets whenever I want without judgment instead of a random holiday, so why would I eat turkey? Besides, the funny Woody Harley movie already went back in time to get turkeys off the menu, so you probably shouldn't be eating turkeys today anyways. And honestly, the food selection sucks when turkeys are the food I had the nicest thing to say about. I don't really like mashed potatoes, which is weird because I do love french fries, but not mashed potatoes for some reason. I don't think I could care less about gravy. All the gravy I ever had has been pretty flavorless, so who cares? And I'm not John Lennon at Strawberry Fields, so I'm not caring about cranberry sauce. Honestly, I am a pretty picky eater if that isn't obvious enough, and thankfully my mom knows this, so she normally just makes me mac and cheese for Thanksgiving, even though it isn't really a Thanksgiving food. Thank you, Mom! But yeah, I don't really care for the food on Thanksgiving. And that's somehow not even because of there being a cooked corpse of an animal in the middle of the table. But now, because I ran out of food to talk about, onto the media of Thanksgiving. Because surprisingly, I somehow didn't talk about all of it the first time. First off, like always, are the movies. I tried finding more Thanksgiving movies other than Freebirds and Spider-Man 1, and it was a lot harder than you may suspect. Google brought up films like Paul Blart Mall Cop and Jack and Jill for Thanksgiving, but no, we're not talking about Jack and Jill. No, thank you. But onto a type of movie I'm sure you're all tired of hearing me talk about in these videos, the horror movies based on Thanksgiving. Yeah, there should be a rule of thumb that every popular holiday gets a horror movie about it, like Hard Eyes for Valentine's Day, Silent Night Deadly Night for Christmas, Trick or Treat for Halloween, and Arbor Day for Take a Wild Guess. And I think it should be obvious which one I'm going to be talking about for this holiday. The horror movie about Thanksgiving that everybody knows takes place on a titular holiday has an infamous kill involving a turkey. Yeah, I know exactly what you all want. Yeah, we're finally talking about Thanksgiving. I know you've all been waiting patiently for this. I honestly haven't watched Thanksgiving before planning on making this video, but now I finally did, so you can finally hear a true professional speak about this film. Yeah, I enjoyed it. The film is dumb, but it's a fun type of dumb. It gets a pass. It's not trying to be anything more than a dumb horror movie, and it knows that, so it works perfectly for what it is.
I'm gonna just lie to him.
No, Johnny, no, please.
Stop, don't come back. They even mentioned that awesome peanut butter gamer moment. You know it must be great.
I'm gonna ghost ride the whip, man.
But for real, yeah, I did enjoy Thanksgiving, and it feels like it would be a fun time with a group of friends. I had a fun time for the most part watching this film. But you know what I'm thankful for not seeing this Thanksgiving? Thanksgiving 3! I know how infamous the sequel is, so I sort of refuse to watch it, especially for broke James A. Denise, a man who watches horror films for a living. I remember once when I lived in a college dorm, there were two boys trying to look for Thanksgiving 3 in a space I was just passing by. I knew how infamously bad the film was back then, and I tried warning them about watching it, but they didn't listen and watched it anyways. I haven't seen them since. I really hope they're doing well. And also, no, we're not talking about the Hallmark Thanksgiving films, no matter how old-fashioned they are. Nor am I talking about the Thanksgiving dance, whatever this is. I have too much self-respect to watch this all the way through, even though Tubi recommended it and its sequel. You know what? How about instead of talking about a movie, we talk about an episode of television? You want to know my favorite episode of one of the most iconic adult animated sitcoms of all time?
Thanksgiving dinner, let's all eat E-I-E-I-O. And for our dinner, we'll buy some Indians, E-I-E-I-O.
Yeah, this is honestly my favorite episode of South Park, and I know the entire episode isn't about Thanksgiving, but screw it, it's my video, I get to talk about it. And yes, I know there are other episodes from South Park that are probably more about the holiday, but shut up. And I will say though that the Helen Keller song from this episode is my favorite Thanksgiving song. I love singing songs about blind and deaf girls too while sitting at the Thanksgiving table. But for real, for some reason I haven't made it a tradition yet to watch the Helen Keller musical episode of South Park on Thanksgiving. Something is wrong with me for that because yet again, what else am I going to watch on Thanksgiving? Thanksgiving 3? So how about we talk about more Thanksgiving songs like the Helen Keller musical? Yeah, I know I made jokes about how little there were last time I talked about Thanksgiving, and yes, even though that still does reign true, I still somehow missed a couple of songs. I was informed that I missed a song named Gobble Gobble by Matthew West, who is a musician I know no other songs from. And ironically, the first verse of the song is about how everybody knows about Christmas songs and not any about Thanksgiving. It does make me feel even worse for missing this song last time, but I guess me doing that proved the point of the verse. The song then eventually turns into a sort of rap song about Thanksgiving, which somehow makes more sense than why Buddy the Elf is at the table. I just mentioned that you were doing great with the meta Christmas verse in the song, why ruin it by cramming more Christmas stuff into the song? And do you guys remember the Alice's Restaurant song from this video? Yeah, well, the song is so goddamn long that it started playing since the last time I talked about Thanksgiving 2 years ago, and it still hasn't finished. But it's also somehow not as long as the film that for some reason existed based off the song. But I guess this movie based off a holiday song makes more sense to exist than the movie based off Grandma Got Run Over by a Reindeer. I probably should have also talked about the Alice's Restaurant movie in the movie section of this video, god dang it. For the final Thanksgiving song I gotta mention is the one by Jax Films, where he makes fun of Thanksgiving. And he also has a couple other videos where Jack and his fans make fun of the holiday too. Crap, I gotta start stealing all the jokes from those. Now I guess the best next thing to talk about with Thanksgiving is the entire theme with it. I know there isn't much of a theme for Thanksgiving, especially not as much as holidays like Christmas or Halloween, but trust me, it's still sort of there. You know, the main color being brown, which is a color I mainly associate with something gross I don't think I could show on YouTube, with a bunch of props for this holiday being things like pumpkins, leaves, and turkeys. You know, it's sort of sad when one of those things is more associated with a tradition for another holiday not even a month prior, one is more associated with the season of the holiday takes place in general, and one of those is just an animal. So all Thanksgiving has to its name that's original that isn't taken from another holiday or season is a weird looking bird that's eaten every year on the holiday, and a pretty uneventful color. I am aware there is technically a Thanksgiving mascot with Tom the Turkey, but who cares about him? Come on, at least Christmas has red and green and a bunch of things of its own like an actually interesting mascot, a bunch of iconography like stockings and a type of tree that literally has the holiday name literally in it, and a bunch of media people actually know and care about. And that's sort of a problem with Thanksgiving, it being too comparable to Christmas, especially when they're only a month apart. I mean, literally everything that Thanksgiving has, Christmas has and has more of it. They're both about spending time with their family and friends, being thankful about each other's presents, and both are at the end of the year. But the difference is, Christmas has way more than that and also takes out all the bad parts about Thanksgiving. Christmas has gift sharing and an actually good mascot, while Thanksgiving has 4 out of 10 food and a parade that ends with, oh, even Thanksgiving itself knows that Christmas is better. How do you expect me to like your holiday when even you yourself can't give yourself praise? You'll never see a kid hyped for Thanksgiving in the same way they are for holidays like Christmas. They'll be hyped for the newest trendy toy Santa got them and never for figuring out what Trump did this week while their racist uncle fights with their drunk grandfather at the table. There's no spectacular food, there's barely any movies, songs that only care about being the only Thanksgiving song, a parade you stop caring about after 5 minutes once the Snoopy balloon goes away, a boring mascot, and an all boy who's down to your family fighting with each other. I hate all of it! But you know, maybe all that stuff doesn't matter. Yeah, it's very easy to just insult Thanksgiving for all the bad films or food it has, but you know, I guess I sort of am happy about the holiday. It brings family together in some way, and you know, that's something not everything could do. Even though it isn't easy sometimes, it reminds us all to just be thankful about things. people, even including me, like to act like the food is the main point of Thanksgiving. But I mean, the main point of the holidays is within the name of it, being thankful for things. And hey, speaking of, I should probably say what I'm thankful for, and I guess it's pretty clear what I'm thankful for this year. That being the fact that I was able to get this far about ranting about the same topic for a second time. And my family, friends, and all of you guys, but mainly the first thing. Thank you all for watching, and I hope you have a great Thanksgiving this year by stuffing your face with 20 pounds of cranberry sauce and pie. See you all later, governors. Have a great day.